Okay, hello everybody. It's Cameron O'Brien here from Winning Edge's WA Tips and Ratings service, and I have got a preview to bring you this week of the listed 1500 metre Grandstand Cup on this Saturday afternoon from Ascot. This is an okay race, as I said. It's 1500 metres. It's a nice enough distance in that it's still a distance where the map matters a little bit. Where they're going to settle does matter, but also it's not absolutely crucial. If I scroll down here, down the page a little, you can see that this is horses who lead. They have an 18% strike rate. And then horses who settle second have an 11.5% strike rate, third 11. So it drops down, but it's not too severe. So you can come from behind and win, pace dependent, obviously, things like that. Whereas it's something like 1,000 metres, 1,200 and under, I should say, at Ascot. It's a much different story. You really need to be in the first few. This is a bit more fair, and you're still getting good horses where if you get out to those staying troops, you can end up with some pretty average, sort of unreliable kind of horses. That makes it hard to predict their rating. So this is a good middle sort of distance trip. Now, the first thing I do when I do the form, I want to take you through these previews like this so you get an idea of my processes and how I come up with my prices and how I come up with potential bets. And I think we have a potential bet in this race. So this is probably a good one to do an example of. It doesn't mean the horse is going to win, but it's certainly a good one to use as an example of why I like to back this kind of horse. So let's go first to the map, and we will see in a moment that I don't think there's a great deal of pace in the race. As you can see now, the leaders are going to the left. So my Greek Boy and Abdicator are the ones who I think will lead. I don't have anybody in these two spots here, which is the spots actually leading. These are the ones who I have settling sort of handy normally, and then fairly handy midfield back and well back there. And I think Abdicator and my Greek Boy, the on paces, and unless they go too slow and something tries to circle them and puts the pressure on, then I think it'll just be a moderate pace. And with that being the case, if it is that, then you will be a bit better suited being on pace. But as I said, you can come from behind, and there's only 10 in the field, so they won't be really all that spread out. I mean, Mizleki and Telemann coming at the back there should be within 3 or 4 lengths around the home turn, which realistically still gives them the chance to run on, as long as they haven't completely crawled in front. Right, so that's the map. And back here now, we'll go through their form, and I'll show you the marks I've given each horse and why I think they'll do that, and how that comes to be, selection and the price at the end. Now, this race is interesting because a lot of them are coming out of this race. This is the first horse, Akinar Star, and a lot of them are coming out of the race that Akinar Star won here last start at Bunbury, the Bunbury Stakes, $120,000 listed race, and Akinar Star got a good run just behind the pace and took over and won pretty well. And a lot of them are coming out of that. So there's some solid form lines and from that race, and then it's about weight changes and things like that. So we'll go through them all. Akinar Star did that, and yeah, as I said, set just off the pace and took over and won pretty well. Did 111. That was second up from a spell. He's got a best back here of 112, and I have no reason to think he can't go somewhere around that 111, 112 again. On the map, I just had a slight query about that spot. It looks like it's a great spot to map, and it is, but sometimes at Ascot you can just be caught there, especially in a slow pace. If you can get caught there and not get out, and so I just brought him back a little bit from that 111.5 I gave him. And now, one thing to note is he carried 58.5 kilos here in the Bunbury Stakes and goes up to 60.5. So he goes up 2 kilos for his win in that race. Going to the next horse, which is Push and Shapes, who also comes out of the Bunbury Stakes. Now, he ended up back last in the field and made up, well, not much ground. He's beaten 4.2 lengths in the finish there in 8th spot, went 102. His best back here is 109, 107s as well. And he was only first up from spell, so I've got to think that he can improve. But then going to the map, I've got him back on the rail, which is not a good spot. You'd actually prefer to be one of these horses here, because at least then you can be hooking out. If these ones go and cover him, he could just get caught up back there on the rail. I ended up giving him 106.5, and and that makes him a $20 chance. Now, just back at Akinar Star, giving him 111.5 made him $7.40 chance, that figure there. Yeah, $20 chance for Push and Shapes. Going on to Variation, who is also out of that same Achenar Star Bunbury race. Actually, I should go back and just say Achenar Star, I'm $7, is currently about $3.80, $3.60 in the real market. So I'm longer in the market on Achenar Star. Push and Shapes is 40 to 1, I'm 20 to 1. I wouldn't back it anyway. The horses were right down the list at like that. I'm not interested. Variation comes out of the Bunbury race, as I said. Okay, so he settled sort of midfield and made up a little bit of ground. The video comment there says, yeah, he hit line, others finished better. It's just a bit of a battling kind of run. Went 105. Has this 111 back here before a spell, 1600 Ascot, and this is 1500 Ascot, so very similar conditions. However, that was 25th November 2017, which was 466 days that he had off here to here. So one must assume that something was wrong. I can't go marking him up there near the 111. However, he's not that far off the pace there. I mean, he's got the same problem. He might not get off that rail, but he's not too far off the pace. I've given him 108, which is sort of in between, and that makes him a $7.20 chance, and he's currently $7 in the real market, which, yeah, makes him about the same price, obviously. Next horse is Celebrity Dream, Durant and Peter Hall, who also comes out of Achenar Star's race, and did 105. Now, I think this mare is pretty maxed at about 100 at this 107 here. That's about her top. Look at these 102s back there, and she's progressed up to 107. She was okay in that race behind Achenar Star, but she needs more than 107 to win this race in all likelihood. And although she was sort of second up off a bit of a let up there, she'd had a bit of a break, 16, how many days, 42 days off. So she can improve a bit. She also gets Pike off and Peter Hall on, so a bad jockey change. And looking at the map, I have her mapping back there, so that makes it a little bit harder. I end up with her 105.5. I'm $19, but the real market's $6.50. Even if I was entering her at 107, which is her best figure, I'd be $10 in the market, $6.50. So I'm certainly not going to be on her. I expected a drift, to be honest. Next horse, My Greek Boy, believe it or not, also out of the Achenar Star race. Now, he set the pace this day. They went really, really hard in front, and he just went too quick. At the start before he got 106, he's got this 109 back here. This one Ascot 1600 metre rating. I'm willing to forgive that because they went mad in front, and he was beaten 3.7 lengths. But he's 106 start before, plus he's 109s back here, and the fact that he maps really well because he'll be on pace, and I doubt they'll be going quick this time. Means I'm happy to give him 106.5. Makes him a $10 chance. Now, I should have mentioned the others as well. My Greek Boy is 54.5 there, 54.5 today, so he doesn't go up in weight or down in weight at all, whereas Achenar Star is going up 2 kilos. So he meets Achenar Star 2 kilos better. Push and Shape, same thing, 56.5 last start, 56.5 in this race. Meets Achenar Star 2 kilos better. Variation, same thing, 55.5, 55.5. Meets the favourite 2 kilos better. Celebrity Dream, exactly the same, 55, 55. So all these horses are getting a relative weight advantage from Achenar Star of 2 kilos. That's significant enough. It's not massive, but it will make some difference and gives them a bit better of a chance. And I don't think the market's completely priced that in, and often doesn't. Abdicator did not come out of the Achenar Star race. Came out of the race at Ascot over a mile behind Rock on Tommy, and they walked a bit in front there. Abdicator was on pace and went okay, but did get its chance there. Now, went 104, it's got these 107s back here, and maps right on pace again, whereas, yeah, the joint leading with My Greek Boy because of a lack of leaders. So I was willing to push him up to 106.5, which makes him an $8.80 chance. And yeah, he's about $8 to $9 in the real market, so it's a similar price. Devalatio also comes out of the Rock on Tommy race, and was just okay there. Went 103 back here. I can't really give Devalatio more than what he's been doing, and like these 103, he sort of had his chance in these races to do it, and so I couldn't give him more. He maps well though, and so I ended up giving him 103, but it makes it a $45 chance for me. So he needs a new peak to win the race. Ms. Lecky's an interesting runner. This one here, you'll see my little comment that I wrote. Held up a vital time, bonus one, found line well, made to 107, 108 this prep. He's got this, has got this very solid base. These 103s here that she did 5 times in 6 runs there, which indicates to me that there's, if all goes well, then she has, as a 4-year-old still, she has 108 or so to come. She did this 102 not suited, coming from back. The pace was okay, but she got held up and things like that. It was very good on the line, strong on the line, found the line well. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, she might well be in 108 form at some point this prep. So I was willing to push her up. I end up with 106. I brought her back a bit because she hasn't done 108 yet, so I can't be sure, and because she does map back. But as I say, I mean, at least being with a trail here and be hooking out, moving closer and hooking out in what's not a big field. So I upped Ms. Lecky up to 106, but that makes her an $11 chance, and she's only $6 in the real market. So she's unders for mine, but certainly can win. I mean, if she was to do 108, then I'd have $5. So the market's sort of really pricing her up more around that 108 mark, thinking that she can improve to that for this run. The next horse, Proper Antes, probably doesn't have any chance really. It's 50 to 1 in the real market. I'm 70 to 1. He's got these old marks back here, but he's a 7-year-old now. They were about a year ago, and he hasn't come up in his 2 preps since. This run was just ordinary first up. Won a trial since, but you can't just guess and say, oh, I'm going to give it back to 108. You know, give it 102, which is a bit of an improvement anyway. But you can't just be just plucking out the peak rating and giving it to it because it does have them back here, because that's 2 preps ago now, and it hasn't shown anything in these runs to indicate that he's going to get back to those kind of figures. So, I mean, could win, could do something back here, but you can't just guess. Last horse in the race is Tell 'em We're Coming, and Tell 'em We're Coming came out of the Ascot Star race and was the best run of those horses who were beaten in the race, for sure. He got right back to nearly last, and though, as I said, the pace was on to suit, he was coming through the field really well, and then he had to check and change course, and then he hit the line strongly and was up with the winner, Ascot Star, within 50 metres over the line as well. He had more in the tank. I think he's potentially 110 horse, the way he's hit these patterns of 95, 100, 105 through here, and this was 107 when he had to change course. So I think 110 is a possibility. He hasn't done it yet, though, so I brought him back a little bit. I've ended up at 108.5, and of course he maps well back again, which is his query, and that's where I've ended up giving him, you know, a point penalty for that, because he will be probably last in the run, but that is his pattern, and he has won many times already in his short career doing that. So you never know. Chris Parnham might be a little bit more aggressive up to 1500. He hasn't always settled last, so you know, early in his career he's settling closer, but we'll see. Anyway, he did get penalised for that. I still have to improve him off his 107, third up from spell, end up 108.5. He also remains at 54 kilos from the race, so he also meets Ascot Star 2 kilos better, and that's why I have him ahead of him, because of improvement and the fact that he sort of missed the run there and should have probably got very close to winning the race with Ascot Star their last start. And that means that I end up with a market like this, with Tell 'em We're Coming on top, prices of $3.40 chance, variation 720, Ascot Star 740, Abdicator, and so on. I have, Tell 'em We're Coming clear, as you can see, and 1.6 points clear of the second horse. And he's about 370, 380 in the limited markets that are available at the moment. So, yeah, it certainly looks like I'll be backing him. And although he maps badly, hopefully Chris Parnham is one of the best riders in the West, and with a wide draw I'm okay with, because he won't be cluttered up on the rail. The horse can get a trail, hopefully hook out. Hopefully the Ascot Star will be hard to run down, but hopefully the relative weight advantage we get of 2 kilos tells the difference, and we get the winner. So that's the race. It's the Grandstand Cup for Saturday. It's a good race. It's not exactly the cards we're seeing in the East at this time of the year, but it's not Port Lincoln either. So it's a nice little race for us to get involved in, and hopefully we find the winner there with Tell 'em We're Coming. Thanks for listening, everyone. I will be in touch next week with some other race, a new beginning there with some form for next Saturday. I'm not sure what's on there, but we'll find something, and hopefully it's a good weekend for us. Thanks, guys.